Are you craving more Tennessee coverage? It's time for the Craven Wings 2-minute drill with the guys of all class.
Appreciate Jacob Warren, the Craven Wings 2-minute drill from the 865 live recruiting event on this Memorial Day weekend. And Matt, we got a lot of recruits to get through. Let's start with Sammy Brown. Clearly Tennessee put their best foot forward. Listening to him talk, if you hold him at his word that everybody's kind of even, and even if you say Georgia's kind of got the inside niche as we head into official visits, Tennessee's clearly moving up the ranks in his eyes.
Well, this, for Sammy Brown in this process, we've known all along it was going to be about relationships, right? He has a good relationship with Brian G. Marie, and being here on campus this weekend with a lot of guys that are, building their relationship a little bit more laid back, I think that's big for Sammy Brown.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's looking for. He's looking for a culture, and that was on full display here at Tennessee today.
Yeah, the one word that I kept hearing him say, even when the camera wasn't rolling, was genuine, genuine, genuine. That's something he kept pushing, after the event. Flip it, to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about the wide receiver position. Amari Jefferson, he and Cam Michael and a few others were in town. Amari Jefferson, told you, and it's just like I predicted would happen. Tennessee's back even now with Georgia and Alabama after this visit.
His entire family here with him today, and I think that was important. Mom here, dad here, everybody had a chance to see what Tennessee's about. He raved about Kelsey Pope, in my opinion, on the camera, off the camera, going into June official visits. I think everybody is neck and neck now, and then Tennessee gets that last, chance to swing big with Amari Jefferson, June 23rd, June 25th.
Yep, Cam Michael will officially visit for the Georgia game, that being November 18th. But let's not talk about him. Let's talk about Kingston Lopa, kid from Sacramento. I think Tennessee did a really nice job with him this weekend. In fact, I think Tennessee's in a good spot there, exiting the 865 live event. For Kingston, someone who knows Dante Stallworth, who knows Ontario Smith. In fact, told me Ontario Smith talks to the kids at his high school. They all played at the same high school, about learning from his mistakes, that he made mistakes at Tennessee. Don't be him, somebody who ends up wasting their talent. And I think that says a lot about where Ontario Smith is all these years later. But it also is kind of a good source and a good resource, especially with Tennessee when it comes to Kingston Lopa.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you look at the offense and his frame and what he can do from a physicality standpoint, a bigger bodied guy that can get down the field and attack the football. I think he sees a clear fit. He'll go take some official visits and we'll see where things go from there. But Tennessee made an impression with Kingston Lopa.
No doubt about it. Running back position, Tennessee obviously added Peyton Lewis early on Saturday during the middle of the 865 live event. And Daniel Hill was here. We can no longer call him the Noah Rogers of 2023. He is no longer that. He was here and, liked what he saw and said Tennessee's in the top 3 along with South Carolina and Alabama.
Yeah, and, coming into this weekend, I think I hinted at it on the General's Quarters or in the podcast that you and I did. It always felt like he had talked about those 4 schools, but for Tennessee to get up there with Alabama and South Carolina, they needed this weekend. Getting him here was huge. He'll be back here in the summer, and Tennessee continues to do a really good job at the running back position. Peyton Lewis today, you got a real chance with Breeland Russell and Daniel Hill now.
Flipping it to the defensive side, Cameron Fountain, that's a guy you know a lot about. Very impressed by Tennessee. We'll be back for an official visit.
Yeah, and I think that relationship with Rodney Garner just continues to stand above the rest of the schools right now. Summertime decision, I think, most likely. But I think relationship, as that continues to grow, I think he sees the culture here at Tennessee. I think that's something that's important to him and his mom. And Mom was here with him today, and I think she had a really good time on the visit as well.
Mellow Jones, the Georgia commit, spent a lot of time with Josh Heupel after the event was over. Played cornhole forever. I mean, everybody else was gone. He and Heupel still down there playing cornhole, kind of talking things out. Can Tennessee flip the Georgia commit?
Well, I'll tell you this much. Hop won the cornhole game.
Stunned.
Yeah, absolutely stunned. Mello was not stunned. First time playing cornhole. Now, obviously he can flip a bag. Can he flip the Georgia commit? I think Tennessee's got a chance.
Nice line, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Going into official visits, he's going to be here in June. He's going to see Alabama. He's going to see Georgia. He's going to take this thing all the way to December. He was pretty adamant about that today when I spoke with him. I think he's going to be back here for at least the Georgia game in November, possibly another. He's pretty open. He really likes the relationship here. Family likes the relationship here. But, again, you're trying to flip him from the 2-time defending national champions.
Let's talk about 2 kids that were here that I would call let's just call them long shots. Let's call them what they are, right? I mean, Dylan Stewart and Aiden Breeland. I mean, you may could land them, but I mean, like, it's a tough road to hoe. Both those kids were here, and both kind of feeling Tennessee out for the first time.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. It's feeling Tennessee out and deciding if they want to come back here and be more serious about that. Both those guys are going to have more football conversations as the weekend goes on here, and I think that'll determine if they're back here for an official visit. But I think the initial impression was they liked the canvas, they liked what they saw from the coaching staff. Now, as those football conversations happen, do you do enough to get them back later in the fall as they continue to work towards a decision? And I don't know that either one of those guys are rushing towards something at this point.
Go back to the offensive line. Daniel Calhoun, he's a mountain, and he's surrounded by a couple of guys, and Jesse Perry and Gage Ginther, who are committed to Tennessee, and he said they were both like, commit.
Yeah, and I think for Daniel Calhoun, he just keeps coming back to Tennessee, and we've talked about it, and he keeps getting back up here. Here in April, here again at the end of this month. We'll be back middle of next month. I'm going to see 5 schools on official visits next month, and that's going to be important for him and his family as they really focus on the relationship side of things and try to decide what's the right fit for him in terms of how he meshes along the offensive line, and then where he feels most comfortable with the coaching staff. But I think he's got a really strong relationship with Glenn Ellerby.
Finally, we'll talk about the in-state kids that are not committed. Ronan O'Connell, Edwin Spillman, Boo Carter. They got to hang out with them, and we already talked about Amari Jefferson, who's not committed, but that was in the receiver part. Those 3 specifically, I think they're key, right? I mean, getting Edwin finally in the boat, getting Boo in the boat, and landing Ronan O'Connell to go along with Ginther and some of the offensive linemen we talked about with Jesse Perry. Closing out the rest of these in-state kids that you want. That really kind of give Tennessee the last 2 cycles of getting the kids in state that they covet.
Yeah, and going into June official visits, I think all those guys, I think their recruitments are pretty similar right now. I think there's no secret that Tennessee is probably in the best spot for those guys. They're going to see a handful of schools each, and then they're all going to decide after those official visits. For me, Boo Carter's not going to be here on he is going to be here on an official visit. That changed. That's something that did change. So again, for Tennessee, you have to like your chances of closing that one out in June, early July. Same with Edwin Spillman, but there's still a little ways to go. Crazier things have happened, but when you start talking about the way the recruiting calendar has shifted, closing out with those guys in June at some point, that's big for Tennessee as you try to finish strong in the summer and lock down a large majority of your class.
All this, and Ryan Wingo heads to town tomorrow, and then of course we'll have live coverage from the NIL event with On 3 in Nashville coming up Tuesday and Wednesday. There'll be a lot of big timers there, including Mike Matthews. Sammy Brown will be there, along with some in-state kids like Edmund Spillman and Boo Carter and so on and so forth. He's Matt Ray. I'm Austin Price. This has been the 2-minute drill, and before anybody says, I know we're like 10 minutes right now. It's like an NBA 2-minute drill, right? The last 2 minutes of an NBA game take about 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Either way, it takes a long time. So did this, but hopefully you're all caught up on the recruiting wrap from the A605 live event on campus.